Hello everyone. Welcome to another Monday, another amazing week. To start off this live, I just want to say a huge welcome to all the new members. So over the last few weeks, we've had quite a lot of people joining the group. So big welcome to you guys. Today, I actually just really want to talk about a little bit more of my own story and kind of the mission behind IPIK Project. So for those of you who don't know me, I am from the UK originally, now living in outback Queensland in Australia in a very small community. And I had a job as a lecturer, as a teacher in the UK, very busy, very highly stressful. I also ran my own business, a healing business over in the UK as well. So I was kind of doing juggling both of those jobs, plus my son Tom was born in the UK as well, so I became a mum. So when I think back to my life in the UK, it was very chaotic, literally living from one day to the next, just trying to fit everything in, trying to get, every single job done just to tick it off the list. I was very stressed. I became sick multiple times with, just to start with, things like colds. I mean, teachers, anyone who's a teacher knows that as soon as you hit the school holidays, we all get sick because we've beavered away for the whole term. And then when we finally get to relax, our immune system just gets hammered. So yeah, lots of things like that. I had gallstones as a recurring issue and ended up having to have my gallbladder out. And eventually I made myself so unwell that I ended up with a very rare form of cancer. So I can testify to the fact that living a life of stress and continually going round in that Groundhog Day cycle does not do our physical body any good. It's not serving us to put ourselves in that position, and it ultimately has an effect on our energy system. So if we look at the world as energy, which is how I do now and how I live, is to see everything as a vibration. And when we're living in a dense vibration and we're putting ourselves in positions of should do that and have to do that and I need to meet someone else's expectations, all of those things are quite a low vibration energy. It's not listening to our intuition, it's not listening to our heart, it's not making decisions based on our best self, if you like. So when we do that, we layer on all these dense energies and eventually it affects our physical body. We start to get aches and pains. We have a shoulder problem that keeps recurring, or we end up with, extreme cases, like I had a form of cancer that stops you dead, like you have to stop. Broken bones is another one. You're having a broken bone is a way of stopping you. You push yourself to breaking point. We end up with physical manifestations of the energy. So I lived that life. That was my life. When I lived in the UK, it was incredibly full on. And I was still doing healing then. That was part of my job. And I still was in a cycle of push and struggle and having to achieve, and a lot of limiting beliefs around that. When we moved out to Australia, I spent a lot of time doing self-development work and a lot of time processing through that. And this is where I found the space and the kind of the stop, the being instead of doing. And the one thing that I have learnt through all of that is that if I listen to my intuition, my gut feeling about something, and I trust it and I follow through, that my life is so much easier. Life becomes a flow. Life just falls into place. I'm not in the chaos. Yes, I have days where I'm very busy. So I'm not going to say that, my life is perfect and I don't do any of that anymore. Of course I do, because I'm a mum. I have 3 kids. But, it's simpler and it flows. I'm not pushing the whole time. I'm making decisions in alignment with myself. And that is your superpower. As a human being, we all have a gut instinct. It is our 6th sense. We don't have 5 senses, we have 6. My kids learn that from the day they were born. We have 6 senses. I don't talk about 5, I talk about 6. because the sixth sense is your intuition, is your gut instinct. Every single animal has a sixth sense. We have the ability to perceive energy, and that's what your sixth sense does. That is your intuition. So instead of pushing it to one side and being like, well, I'm going to ignore that, and that's not part of what I learn and what my programming is, if you actually step into a space where your sixth sense is as valuable as your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, your touch, suddenly you have a superpower because it's invisible. You literally can change your life overnight, but you have got to unpick the limiting beliefs around why you wouldn't follow and trust your gut instinct. And that's the hard part. As humans, we overcomplicate everything. So remember that your intuition is your superpower. You literally have the answers to everything you need in your body right now. And when you actually learn to trust that, when you say yes or no, depending what it is, and you follow, your life just falls into place. Everything becomes flowing. You're not pushing to do things anymore because you're just listening and following the guidance. You can imagine it a bit like a river. You have a river, and if you just keep dropping in all these big boulders, the river has to constantly be moving. It becomes an effort, and you're having to row and oar around all these obstacles all the time, because you're just doing what you think you should do because that's what society says. And you're looking at the belief systems around what society makes us feel like we're lacking, or the judgment that people place on us if we're not doing something. And so we live and we're pushing the whole time, and our life becomes chaotic. It becomes hard. And we say that, God, it's just such hard work. And it is hard work when we're trying to meander around all of that. If we just stop and listen to our gut, is this good for me? Do I feel good about this decision or not? And that it's as simple as that. Does this make me feel a sense of excitement and expansion? Or does this make me feel like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, I need to write a pros and cons list? If you get to that point where you're trying to write pros and cons, it's not in alignment with you. Your intuition is saying no. Because if you feel that sense of excitement and expansion, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited about doing this new course, or going on this holiday, or that's expansion. That's you going, oh my God, this is amazing. When you feel that, that's your intuition saying, yes, follow that path. And when you start doing that more, all of those big boulders start to break down, because all of a sudden you're listening to your inner self and your inner guidance, not listening to all the guidance from outside that is pushing you and directing you and making you feel drained and exhausted. It's flipping exhausting. So your intuition is the one thing. It's free. You don't even have to do anything. It's right there. You just have to learn to harness it, and you have to learn to trust it and have the courage to follow through, to actually say yes or say no. So, for me personally, moving to Australia and starting again with our family. So my husband's Australian, hence why we ended up back here. And we now have 2 more children, so I have 3 children now. Life is still as busy, and I probably have more to do. We have a property to look after. I'm running my business online, so I'm still working. I've now got 3 children to look after. I'm a homeschooling parent, so if I look at time and what I squeeze into my time, I'm probably as busy as I was when I lived in the UK. But the difference is that now I live completely in alignment with my inner voice, listening to my gut, listening to my intuition, and doing what feels aligned for us. And if it doesn't feel aligned, it might take me a while to make a decision and to have that courage to say, you know what, this isn't working for us and I'm cutting it out. But I get there, and when I do it, I feel such a sense of relief. It's like a freedom, that you have made that choice and you're changing, your life for the better. And that's the mission of IPIK Project, is that every step of the way in that process, you become more expanded. Your reality becomes different. You learn the tools to help you to become more intuitive, and you learn how to become mindful and to notice when these things pop up. That's the first thing, is, you know, when am I, you know, what's the difference between my intuition and just having a thought? And you start to learn the difference between that. And, you know, everything about what I do is helping you guys to have a better life. You know, I know what I've managed to do for my own family, and that's what I want for other families around the world. And as soon as you can visualize life as an energetic spectrum, where feeling dense and crappy and sick and tired and exhausted and being in that Groundhog Day cycle is, you know, kind of down here, if you can raise your vibration to the point where suddenly life becomes buoyant and in flow and it's easy and simpler, and your reality is completely different between those 2 points. And that's what I, in retrospect, look back on. I look back on my life in the UK and I go, wow, I could still be doing that. That was 7 years ago. I could still be living that life where I made myself sick and I stayed in the stress and the cycle. Or I could be where I am now, where we live in flow and everything is easier and simpler. So, you know, your intuition is the one thing you have that can change your entire reality. And it raises your vibration, it raises the consciousness, it helps you to expand and see things with a different filter. You know, you're living with a filter constantly. You know, this is my reality. I couldn't possibly have this job because I'd love to do that. Yeah, but I can't because. They're your limiting beliefs. That's your filter. This is not real. When you expand your awareness, you start to realize that those limiting beliefs are fake. They're just a thought process, literally. And this is what raising the consciousness, allowing yourself to expand, understanding that your energy can be in a different place, which changes the filter of what you're experiencing in your life. Everything is different. Literally everything. Your reality is different. You wake up in the morning, you feel different. Life becomes enjoyable. You don't hate your kids anymore. Because I'm sure we've all been there. And we've had those days where we're just like, can't do it. Like, I'm done. It's just too much. And that's, you know, what IPIK Project is all about. It's about helping you to raise your vibration, to see that there is another way, that you can do this differently. So obviously, if anyone has any questions or wants to talk to me about IPIK Project and how I can help you to get to that place, then reach out, send me a PM or comment. But yeah, just knowing that you have this superpower within you to change your reality, even if it's only a tiny, tiny bit, you can do that, okay? So big love to you all. I hope you have an amazing week. And just practice. You know what? Just sit and practice and put that intention out there that you want to expand your intuition and listen to that gut instinct more and see what happens. Okay? All right, big love. Mwah. I'll catch you all very soon.